Are you trying to get your shift together?
Welcome to the Shift Sisters podcast, where real conversations inspire real transformations. We're not experts, but we're experiencers. I'm Sandra.
And I'm Jennifer Richter.
We're your Shift Sisters.
Whether you're shifting like a sloth or it looks like you're having an exorcism, this is your space to breathe, reflect, and remember. We're here to talk shift with you.
Hello. Welcome, Shifties. We are back and we are starting a new series on the career shift, something that I am super excited about and near and dear to my heart. And I'm excited to start this episode of this series. But before we get into it, I want to welcome my co-host, my amiga, my bestie, all of the good stuff, Jennifer Richter. Hey, Jennifer.
Hey, girl.
So we're going to talk about when the job no longer aligns. Now, I have lots of friends, colleagues, coworkers that have this feeling, right? They have this nudge, this inexplicable reason why they're not wanting to come to work or things like that. And what I want to do for this episode is to really discuss, what does that mean when you start to feel that, and to use some of the tools that we've shared with you on how to navigate that. So we've talked about the 5 signs of shifting. How about the 5 signs of work shifting? So our goal today is to just kind of go through it and share some stories and some experiences around it, and then use the tools that we have to help you through your work shift. So before we get into it, love to do a check-in like we always do, see how we're doing, see how we're feeling. So Jen, why don't you get started? What is your check-in for today?
Oh, girl, I feel like a bullet train.
Yes.
I am running at 100 miles an hour, getting from one place to the next. And I have a lot of destinations right now. So that's what I'm working with. I don't know how. I'm trying to keep refueled with some extra electrolytes. This is, I don't know if you've had it, but it's the IV Flash from Body Armor. The
Yes.
ingredients are actually really good, but like if you're super dehydrated, it really does in a flash get you hydrated. So it's
Amazing.
great for emergencies because we've been doing that sauna a lot, which don't get me started about that infrared sauna. I did not know saunas were all not created equal. So yeah, I've got a lot more energy because I'm less pain. I'm feeling better. So I'm making sure to stay extra hydrated. And now I'm like a bullet train, many
Oh,
destinations.
I love it. A bullet train. And, there's, as you said, all the destinations, all the stops, all the places.
Mhm.
Really amazing.
What about you?
Girl, I don't know what planet I'm on.
Yes, I can see that.
I don't know if I'm here, if I'm there. I see my body and I see my face. And then sometimes I'm just like, my brain and my spirit is somewhere else. So I'm trying to find alignment.
Mhm.
And then we are in Texas going through a lot in terms of like storms and all the
Sure.
things. So as you know, those things, I'm super sensitive, so it affects me as well. So it adds to that haze of kind of where I am. So I'm
Well, I
really
mean, one ride on the Gen Express will get you a little disoriented.
always gonna
Mhm.
buckle up, Buttercup, when you get on the Gen
Mhm.
Express. But I'm just hoping for some alignment. I've been doing some activities to help ground me. I've been using my grounding mat a whole bunch.
Really?
Yes, and also, I was using that, and also longer times on my vibration plate, because I just
Mm.
make sure that I'm totally here and aligned. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's my check-in for today.
All right, we got otherworldly and bullet train. I love it.
I know. So you talked about your sip. Is your sip your hydration drink that you're
It is my sip today. I have been just kind of playing around lately with a ton of different electrolytes because with the MTHFR mutation, right, your body detox pathways are a lot slower than someone without that mutation. And then, additional to doing acupuncture to keep those pathways open and now doing that infrared sauna, I'm all into learning about every type of hydration possible. I've tried so many on the market, like the little packs. You know, I love the salt water
Yes.
and this Body Armor Flash IV. So if you ever have any electrolyte sips to share, I'm down.
I love it. Yes. You don't realize how important hydration is,
Mhm.
and you think it's just water, right?
Yeah.
And I'm learning so
Water
much.
doesn't have enough.
It doesn't have enough, and it's like if you pee clear, then you're not retaining, what you need to retain or things that so it's just fascinating to me to kind of go through that as well.
Yep. Awesome. Are you sipping on anything or just
Girl.
your regular goodness?
No, no, no. I was gonna
Dang, girl.
finally, girl.
Show
So
me that cup too. That looks
this
awesome.
cup is you can't tell, but it's like iridescent. It's like our colors, but it's hard to tell.
Yes.
My thing is thick. So, 2 things. I love an orange Julius,
Okay.
and in, for my Dominican people out there, there is a drink called Morir Soñando, which
Okay.
die dreaming? I know, doesn't I know, I don't know where it comes from, but
Hmm.
it's a variation of an orange Julius, right? So, I didn't make it like, my Dominican people, have made it because it's really delicious how they make it with, like, evaporated milk and condensed milk and orange, like,
Mm.
orange and cinnamon and just really great stuff. But, my take on it, my version was some orange juice, maple syrup, and evaporated coconut milk. And that is my drink for today. And I wanted something like, I don't know, like just nostalgic. And this is a nostalgic drink for me. So this
Wow.
put me in a really great space. So this is what I'm drinking today.
Well, I'm glad you brought something really fun because I'm like, dang, now I feel lame, but I really want to make this because I mean, who doesn't love it's basically an orange creamsicle is what orange Julius is, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a creamsicle.
Okay. I'm totally gonna try this.
There's also from my New Jersey folks, there's a place in Edgewater, New Jersey called Archetypus. It's a great
Okay.
and they do a warm version of this. And I've never had a warm creamsicle. And it was just it just hit the spot. I mean, it's been years since we've been in Jersey, but I hope it's still open and I hope it's still around because that drink as well, really, really delicious.
Wow.
Um, all right. So since that shift us, so Jen, we're going into kind of career chats and career talks and things like that. Do you have
Yes.
anything to help
Let me grab
people?
my book real quick. I usually have it on my phone, but I don't have my phone with me. Hold on.
Sure, go right ahead.
So, because I've got my handy dandy library. The scents that shift us today are all about the transition.
Yes.
And I don't know about you, but transition can be very uncomfortable, but it's going to be rosemary. And I also use that a lot though for memory. Because think about it when you're transitioning to something and you're like all the moving parts plus your daily life and you have to remember everything, it's super um overwhelming. Plus, you know, my brain is a little bit how do we say aging quickly? I don't know. Hold on, let me get to my book. Sorry, I wish I was more prepared today, but, do we
Oh,
all have this or is it just me?
no, that's my life right now.
Oh, it's because I'm in the blends. See why it's so much easier on my phone? I can just pop it open. Do you guys have the Essential Emotions app yet? It's on I don't know if you know this, but it is on our website. So
Mhm.
that same app that I use all the time to look up, like, the body part or the oil or what connects to it, it's that app, and I did put it on our website so we can all get it, but
Yeah, everyone should download that for sure.
I love it. Okay. The oil of a knowledge and transition
Mhm.
assist in the development of true knowledge and true intellect. It teaches that one can be instructed from a far greater space of understanding than the human mind. It challenges individuals to look deeper than they normally would and ask more soul-searching questions so that they may receive more inspired answers. Rosemary assists individuals who struggle with learning disabilities. It brings expansion to the mind, supporting individuals in receiving new information and new experiences. Rosemary aids in times of transition and change. When a person is having a difficult time adjusting to a new house, school, relationship, or job, this oil can assist. Rosemary teaches that individual does not understand all things because they have a mortal perspective. It invites individuals to trust in a higher, more intellectual power than themselves. It
Mm.
supports them in feeling confident and assured during times of great change and understanding or perspective. Rosemary roots them in the true knowledge that surpasses all understanding. Some of these things I wanna rewrite though, because 'cause I'm like, "Have you ever heard of overdoing a word?" I'm like, "How many times can you use the same word in your story?" But sorry, that's just language arts in me.
Oh,
Okay.
I love a good thesaurus, girl. So yes, I love a good
I'm
thesaurus.
like,
So I'm
"Switch
there.
it up, please." But anyways, we get it. Rosemary's for transition, but I also put it in my hair because it's amazing for hair growth and all that other stuff if you really wanna get crazy with it.
Absolutely. I love, just as I said, these extra supports, because who would have thought rosemary oil would help with transitions or even ask those deeper questions, because that was
True.
one thing that you mentioned. And
Yes.
in addition to thinking about your workplace environment, it's like
Mhm.
use those scents to help you as you're in the office and trying to work through some of these shifts, because
Mhm.
one tends to think we'll use it at home and all of that, but no, this is your toolbox and your arsenal of things to help you.
Absolutely, because if you're sitting in your office or wherever you work and you're starting to have those nudges and things come up where things aren't comfortable anymore, you do need to start looking at things through a reflective lens that can give you different perspectives to help you make a choice.
Yes,
So, yeah,
yes, for sure. All right, so when the job no longer aligns, let's get into it.
yeah.
So, thinking about when you start getting that feeling, right, of something not necessarily aligning, and it's not necessarily just the job itself. It could be a dynamic, it could be a person, it could be, just your interactions with the folks that are in your office. It doesn't necessarily mean resignation. And I think I want people to kind of get that out of their head, because like any relationship, any dynamic, you can actually work at it. And there also has to be honesty, because maybe you're contributing to some of the dynamics that are happening and that are keeping you in this unsteady place. So,
Was this where we go, amen? Sorry. I'm like, yes, girl, yes. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead. I get
yeah,
you.
because it's to think about it, like, when I was working on this episode and thinking about past circumstances, I immediately was putting it on them, or,
Mhm.
you know, this is a terrible work environment and blah, 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 not realizing
Mhm.
the most mature, that I jumped at things without even thinking about it, and I didn't give it
Mhm.
enough of a chance. So what I want us to do is to be thoughtful
Mhm.
in our of
Sure.
workplace environments, and thinking through with the tool of the 5 stages of shifting, what can we do? How can we stop at the stage number 3 and maybe make some pivot and some changes?
I
So we're
like it.
gonna go through that together and hopefully share this as a tool for all who are listening.
Let's do it.
So, Jen, can you tell me a time when you had some sort of workplace dynamic and it just didn't align with you? And it could be, your first job or any type of job that you had. And how did you handle it? And, was it something that you would say that was a good way of handling it, or would you have made some adjustments?
Like the very first one that because I've always had like 2 and 3 jobs my
Yeah,
whole life,
yeah.
right? Right now, I run multiple businesses in household and farm. But the thing that comes up for me is this job that didn't align, even the environment visually didn't align. It actually started affecting my eyes and my emotions and all of the things within the building because of how the visual of the place looked, and I guess let me tell you, it was school bus yellow, right,
Oh,
on the, like, top half, and then true blue all the way down and super dark, super rich, fluorescent lights all throughout the things. Girl, I was like, "Am I in Alice in Wonderland?" It was weird. But I was there because it was a client of mine that was, like, going through a transition in their company, and they wanted somebody to temporarily help till they could spend the time to find a really good candidate for that position. So I said, "Sure, I'll do it." It made me physically sick. I couldn't handle I was always stressed out and anxious just knowing I was having to get to work. The
yeah.
people were great. The customers were great. The job was basic and it was fine, the job itself, but man, it just wasn't a fit and I felt it all throughout.
Yes. How did you get out of that circumstance? Was it temporary?
I gave a hard deadline. You
Okay.
have to find somebody by this time because I'm not helping forever because you'll get sucked into stuff like that. And yeah, but I did it for 6 months, but then I also met Adam. So gift in the shift.
That's
Oh,
important to note, right? Because once
yes.
again, we can't just see the gloom and doom, the negative, it's all the bad. And for me, when I think about myself, I say to myself, what lessons did I learn from this? How am I more discerning
Mhm.
moving into my next venture or my next, activity? So there's so many gifts in the shift, and we have to recognize that as well. It's not just here's my resignation letter and I'm out. So
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say, don't think I've actually stayed with anything or intentionally went into anything, a lot in my life that wasn't a fit. So temporary things like that were really all I could think of. But I'm sure
yeah.
you'll have some more good stuff. Hopefully, I can add some good content. Who knows?
Absolutely. No, I love that you shared that because some of the things that you touched upon will be in our next episode.
Ooh, okay, good.
Is my work environment making me sick? Because
Ooh.
the fluorescent light and the paint and all the
Oh,
things that could just, I'm also really sensitive to, and it's thinking, how can we make those shifts and those changes? This isn't necessarily my building, right? But are there
mm,
we can do to help mitigate some of those feelings?
mm.
That's in our next episode,
I
so
love
stay
it.
tuned for that. All right, so let's just as a reminder, I just wanna name the 5 phases of the shift.
Okay.
So number 1 is the nudge, and then we have the realization, the surrender, the rebuild, and then the becoming. So what I'd love to do is kind of go through those different stages and relate it to work. So when we think about the nudge, it's, something is off, but I can't name it yet.
Mhm.
And this is one of the most confusing phases, right? Because you come into work and you automatically like tense up or, things happen in your body and you're saying to yourself, well, nothing is wrong. It's not that I have someone yelling at me and running to me when I walk through the building, but when I walk through the building, I just don't feel
Well,
motivated, inspired,
yeah.
and well, right? So, and even on the contrary, people on the outside may say, "You know what? Jen is really doing well at her job. She's really succeeding, but you're internally having that struggle."
Mhm.
So, when you think of the nudge, Jen, and in the workplace, what are those subtle, we mentioned a couple here, but are there any other subtle kind of cues that make you say, "Oh, something is off?"
Yeah, when you don't have that interest in putting in quality, right?
Yeah.
When you're just kind of like, whatever, you know, who- if you're a catering director and you're just like, if they forgot the spoons, who cares? If you're, a house cleaner for short term rentals, you're like, there's a few hairs on the bed, it'll be fine. Like when you
Mhm.
start to decline in your standards, then that's one sign.
It's a great one because you're just and once again, nothing has necessarily changed. It's not like you have a
Mhm.
different title or different workload, but you start noticing those pieces. So feeling disconnected or uninspired. So the things that
Mhm.
give you a little energy now is just, you're just aloof to it.
Mhm.
Uh, dreading meetings. That's another one where it's like
Yeah.
I have to go into this meeting and you're like dragging yourself and you're dragging your feet and you don't understand why. That's another sign. The Sunday Scaries where people on
Oh,
Sunday night
I've heard about that.
yeah, so people on Sunday nights, they start like ruminating and dreading and thinking about work and they're living in the next week without even
Wow.
enjoying the day that they have today. So if you start having those Sunday Scaries, uh, that's also, another sign. And then, like, low level irritation or restlessness. So, you walk down your office and you see yourself, like, snickering and kind of just getting irritated. You see your phone ringing and that person's calling and you're just, you're getting that feeling. These are all signs. And, what I want you to do is also take a moment and check in with your body because your body will also whisper to you, right? And these
Mhm.
are some of the things that they'll whisper. So, brain fog, right? You're just like, "Hey, I'm not sure what I'm doing, where I should go," because there's this disconnect. of yourself to the work that you have to do. And
Mhm.
why? Fatigue, because you have the Sunday scaries, because you're, thinking about circumstances and situations, or your energy just doesn't want to be there. So you
Yeah.
know how much work that is when you don't want to be somewhere? It's a lot of work because you're in that space emotionally. Obviously tension, and then there's the mild anxiety, right? So
Mhm.
you're driving to work or you're on a bus to work and you're just like, "Oh, I just don't want to be here." So these are some of the ways that the nudge will get your attention. And in this phase is teaching you that your intuition is waking up, right? That something is off, that you need to have a deep listening and think about the subtle cues that are coming up, right? Is it that every time I speak to this particular coworker, I start to like get really tense in my stomach? Like
Mhm.
focus on that and notice that, because your body is telling you your truth. So the listening is important. What not to do when you're in the nudge phase, right? So don't gaslight yourself into gratitude. Oh, this is fine. I'm glad that I have this job, and all the things that will help you kind of make it more palatable to be there, right? So
I
be
love
honest.
that. I've just never heard gaslighting gratitude.
My next
I'm
teacher,
like,
girl,
well, I
that's
mean,
a
if you're
good
gonna
one, right?
gaslight something, I guess that's the one you pick.
Yes, yes. Like that's the part of being honest that's important. Of like, let's just stop and let's name what it is,
Yeah.
as opposed to all of that. And
Basically,
then
don't try to shine a turd, right?
yes. And yes, Jen's words, that's the way we don't wanna do it. Don't rush into it, right? To fix it, because the thing that is making you uncomfortable may need a deep dive. It may not just be, "Oh, I need, you know, a better work-life balance." It may be deeper than that. So you wanna make sure that you're intuitively listening to all the things that are coming up. And of course, don't ignore it. When you get those, those pangs or those feelings or those thoughts, make sure that you're giving it some attention. The reflection question in this stage of the shift is, what feels misaligned, and if and can I even explain it? Because sometimes you don't know and sometimes it's clear as day. So that's the first shift phase, or the tool in helping us realize that something is off and something needs some sort of attention.
Mhm.
We're going to go into the realization now. So I cannot unsee what I now know. So when you get into the realization piece, things are a little clearer. That's when clarity starts to arrive, because you're listening, right? After the nudge, you're really listening, you're putting in the work, you're writing, you're journaling, you're doing everything you can. And then you realize, you know what? I'm seeing that the patterns are leading towards this, or I'm noticing that I'm not aligned or happy with the type of work that I'm doing. It could be as big as that as well
Yeah.
during that realization piece. So in this stage, you might find out your work culture may be toxic. And that's a big realization to have, that the work no longer matches your values. You are an
Yeah.
evolving, changing being, right? And you may, when you first started your work, maybe your values aligned. But as an evolving person, maybe in 2 years, 3 years, in 6 months, it doesn't align. And I don't know
Mhm.
if you felt that before, Jenna, in your work.
Yeah, just, you have to ask, like, is this fulfilling me, right? And even are things honest too, like to your what's that word that I'm trying to think of? Man, I'm having brain fog today. Integrity, right?
Yeah,
Like if there's something that goes against your moral character or integrity that maybe like your boss or higher up is trying to have you implement and you're like, no, this doesn't fit, right? It doesn't match. I don't want my name on it. Like that creates a conflict. So you really have to observe the situation and think about how you want to handle it because that could create a big career shift.
absolutely. And it's definitely something where, the whole boundaries, barriers piece of it, right?
Uh-huh.
Have those boundaries and understand what's important to you. Because some people are yes people, right? They just want to
True.
please, and oh yes, yes, yes. And then where does that get someone, right? Do
Yeah.
you feel like you're aligned in that space? Another realization could be that the pace is unsustainable.
Mm,
People have worked themselves
yeah.
where you are just you can't even spend time with your family, you're super irritable when you get home. All you wanna do is just rot in bed, and it's there that is a nudge there. If you just wanna rot in
Mhm.
bed after work, why is that? Why are you not being able to have that balance where you can have a social life and your family life? There's
Yep.
something off there. Oh, and
Yeah.
then the environment is harming your health, right? So some of the things that you had talked about in terms of just the environment, when I think of like people who work in restaurants or like the nail tech field and all of that, it's
Mhm.
how are
The
you caring?
chemicals.
Oh, girl. I
Mm.
also consider that all the time. I'm like,
Mm.
make sure you're wearing your mask when you're like doing nails because all of the
All of
toxins
the
that
little dust and the particles and the fumes, but yeah, and the cleaning chemicals in certain places are intense, like, I have definitely had that when I worked at a school.
are.
The chemicals that they cleaned with sent me to the hospital on day 1 because, yeah,
No.
I am chemical sensitive. So
Yes.
I'm basically like the canary in the coal mine. Whatever I'm experiencing, everybody else is still being affected by, they just don't know it because there's a more mild reactions, but
Yeah.
it's toxic to everybody. And luckily enough, it was a great school and they did some research and got some still approved, but not as toxic products and changed it.
Wow. I mean, really, that's just think about all the areas where people are using cleaning products. Like, think about
Oh,
that. So, schools and restaurants and places where people congregate, like, that is important. And as you said, like, maybe others are having milder reactions, but it's still
mhm.
harming them.
Yeah.
Think about all of that and also how it changes your mood. We talked about allergies in the
I was
past.
just gonna say it can make you moody or give you those eye strains or irritability, brain fog, and you don't even realize that it's something like that in your environment that's creating it.
For sure. So the signs and signals that you're in this phase is the feelings are getting stronger. So your emotional reactions to things are getting more apparent.
Mhm.
The nudge is more like a whisper, and this is you just can't hold yourself anymore, right? It's just
Mhm.
that reaction. And then resentment starts to surface. So you start to get that feeling of just negativity and anger and
Mhm.
maybe even grief because you lost what you thought this was,
Oh.
this position and this job. So
Mhm.
that's really important. And sometimes people don't correlate the two, right? Grief and work, but truly you're spending a huge chunk of time at work
Huge.
and you are you had kind of this vision of what it could have been and then now it's not. So how do you mitigate that? And
That's
then
hard too, I think too, because so many people don't realize whatever you're doing for work is still part of your identity.
mhm.
And so, like, even if you work at McDonald's, right? Like, are you the best burger maker there ever was? And you just love, the customer service and making sure everybody has a great meal. Like, it's still part of your identity. Are you like, I gotta go where I gotta McDonald's? And you spend so much time there. Think about what it's doing to your body, having that same dread and misery and going like, "This is like a stain on my identity," right? I'm embarrassed to tell people I work there. I don't know. Just a
That
thought.
yes, that low vibing energy, right? Like
Mhm.
it's hard to switch that out like, off. If you're
Oh, yeah.
working 4 or 5 hours and you're in this, like, low vibe, just angry, resentful space, and then you
Mhm.
off of work, how do you switch that on and off? You can't.
Yeah.
So it's definitely important to recognize that energy shift in
Yeah.
you happens. And then so physical symptoms intensify. So that mild anxiety you had during the nudge, now it's like full blown. And all of the other places as well. So you start feeling it in your body more, which is going to deplete you of energy. Your brain fog is going to be worse. So all of that will just intensify. And then in this particular phase, you're going to actually start naming what isn't working because in the realization phase, you've done your listening and you're saying to yourself, this is exactly where I have issue or this is where needs I need to look at.
Adjustment.
Mhm. All
Mhm.
right. So, Jen, I have a question for you. So, have you experienced in your professional life where you can actually see the toxicity or the misalignment? So, I want to talk about like the realization phase for you, or where you were here and the denial is kind of taken away. Do you have anything to share with that?
Yeah, I used to be a catering director for an extremely large company. And initially, when I started with the company, I was developing and correcting a lot of even their catering marketing and just the foundation. I helped to build the tech behind it, all sorts of things.
Mhm.
So initially, there was a lot that I put into it, I was passionate about. And then eventually, I'm just like, I don't care how much chicken somebody wants to eat. Like, you know what I mean? It was no longer about like this inspiration of bringing such great customer service to everyone. And when I had came back to Florida, they wanted me to definitely take that position again. And I was just like, I don't know. It's familiar. I could do it part time. I could do it with my eyes closed. I built the whole section. Like, I know. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting their time. I don't care about their operations and their systems and growing it. Like, there's just no passion there. And
Mm,
I'm actually being a bad employee because I don't have that same passion and inspiration and partnership. And so I just had to be real and say, nope,
yeah, you're like, "Deuces, I'm out." I That is when you are in the realization phase, then it feels like things are just like the clouds
I could
just
see
stripped
it clear.
away and you could see clearly. And also for me, integrity is just very important. So
Mm-hmm.
in the steps that I wanna take and how I wanna do things, I want to be able to do things with that integrity. And as I said earlier in the podcast, there were certain mistakes that I made that doesn't align with that wanting to be and that integrity piece of it. So my first job out of college was in New York City, and I was working for an organization that supported homeless youth. So it was anywhere from like elementary age children to about 17, 18,
Oh,
where
wow.
they go off and, go to college. And I was in charge of the mentoring program where I would connect mentors and mentees together to support. And I remember just feeling like at first I was right out of college. I wanted to save the world. This was such a great
Sure.
opportunity. I'm going to help the youth. And then when I started seeing things like the mentors that would come in, really wealthy people or folks that had success in one aspect or another, would see this as kind of a part of their resume, being a mentor as opposed to
Mhm.
having the passion. So I had to interview the mentors and say, okay, and try to find the right match. And I had such a struggle. I had such a struggle.
Huh.
And I just couldn't see myself pouring myself because that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to pour my
Mhm.
into this because it was such a great concept.
Yes.
When I saw it on paper, when I saw it in action, when I saw what was happening, I just said, I don't know if this is aligning with me. And then when
Mhm.
I really thought about it, I said I had to go. The mistake that I made is that I left without notice, and I did that because
Mm.
wasn't at that ma I didn't have that maturity of having the conversations, really sitting down, naming what was the issue for the next person that came into my role, because maybe
Mhm.
there was an opportunity there that I didn't afford someone else because I didn't share my experiences. So when I
Mhm.
reflect back on that and for myself, I say to myself, if I had this tool of the 5 shift phases, I could have sat down and really zero in on what my issue was and then have a different outcome after that. So this is a really important phase in this journey because when you realize what's happening, then you can act.
And it's one of those things too, you get everything bottled up and it's very emotional because, when we say yes to a career of any kind, regardless if it's just to pay the bills or because we're passionate about the position, You pour a lot into it and
Yes.
you want to feel like it's pouring back into you. And then when you get into it and it's not what you had envisioned, it's like a heartbreak. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's like you've been catfished and it is hard to process because then you're like, at first going through the victim mentality in your mind and you're like, this is BS and blah, blah, blah. And then you're thinking, well, do I invest more and then try to go to the higher ups and like really change thing at its core level? But then, I mean, there's all these stages of things that you go through in your mind, but you think about it and to give yourself the grace, right, for leaving that job that you probably still hold on to, right?
Mhm.
Because now you would never do something like that, but you were still young, you were still figuring out, but emotions were driving the bus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's a big one. That's a big
Yep.
one. And, emotions can be tricky and sometimes they're not 100% honest. And, some of those things you have to keep into perspective. So, what is this phase, the realization teaching you? It's teaching you to be honest with yourself
Mhm.
and honest and specific because you just can't say, oh, well, I can't stand this coworker. Right.
Mhm.
You get real specific, you're saying to yourself, where I'm feeling a bit micromanaged, or I'm feeling unheard, or
Mhm.
I'm not being able to collaborate for whatever reason. That specificity is important.
Yep.
So when you're in this phase, don't immediately burn things down, just like I did. Don't do that.
Mhm.
Really, clarity doesn't require urgency. So
Mhm.
even if it takes some time for you to be 100% clear, give yourself that time because it doesn't mean you have to do something tomorrow. Because the better you think it through, the better you work it through, it's going to
Yeah.
be a better outcome for you. So, and then the reflection question in this phase is what truth am I finally allowing myself to see? So that is
Mhm.
the question that is asked during this phase of the journey. So next we
Mhm.
have surrender. So this is I've let go, but I don't know what's next. So this is when you have accepted that you are clear with your issues or whatever is nudging for you in this shift.
Mhm.
So you've accepted it, you've looked at it, you understand it, and now you're gonna no longer pretend, right? This is the time where you're not gonna just nod your head and just kind of take what's happening. You're getting to a rebuild, but you're not there yet, right? So
Mhm.
you're starting to plot, you're starting to blueprint, you're starting to see what that looks like. So in this phase, you may feel lost, right? You might feel emotionally raw. You may feel disengaged. You may feel detached from old identities because you're letting go. Now you're like actively moving in a different direction. You're letting go that, this is a new position and I'm super excited. And then now you see what's there and you're saying,
Mhm.
okay, I need to pivot and I need to shift. So that is kind of the acceptance piece of all of this.
Mhm.
Some signs and signals that you're in this particular phase of the journey, desire for quiet or space. That's important because you don't need the chatter or you don't need the distractions while you're moving in a different direction. It's like, even like in relationships, when you have those changes in relationships and you're like, I need to really think about this and sit with it a bit. And that space is really important because it opens up an opportunity for things to come in. At this point, you want a little more rest and you want to stop a little bit because you've been doing a lot, right? The nudge, the realization, all of that. And now you're saying to yourself, I just need a little moment to myself to regroup, to strengthen myself even just to see what the next phase because you're going to start building after that. So you're kind of
Mhm.
preparing to emerge from that cocoon and you have little tolerance for nonsense at this point. Like you're not playing the game anymore. People may notice that you've changed at work. Why are you so
Mhm.
quiet? Why aren't you talking so much? Because you're in that stage of really looking towards the next phase of this.
It reminds me of that stage that you get in right after the holidays
Mm,
where you've been so beat to hell from the holidays and now you want to sleep in a little bit longer. You want to reflect on all the things that you don't want to take with you into the new year, all the things that you are hoping to incorporate into your life this year. So it sounds like a mini resolution, vision, book time, but for your career of saying, okay, well, let's evaluate this and maybe even journal about it or make a little vision board of what we do want, because then you might be able to see working with your boss or some coworkers, some collaborative changes that could take place.
Yes, thank you for bringing the vision book conversation because with that vision book too, you can have just all of the different details that are pulling at you, and even those that didn't nudge you, maybe there's certain things that you can also improve in general. So, definitely the biggest takeaway from this part of the shift is the reflection. The reflection
Mhm.
of it is part of this huge transformation, and you can't rush that, right? And I think arguably it's one of the most important pieces because now that reflection is going to put you in the right space to rebuild
Yeah.
and know what the next step is for you. So that piece is vital. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think, it's one of the parts. I think this is the part that is where a lot of people dip out,
Yeah.
right? Because I think, in my opinion, in my observation, families do not share this wisdom and options with their younger children that all grow up to get jobs and become adults, right? Like these are the things parents should be teaching their children from an early age, as far as like, okay, when something's not working in a relationship or in a system or in a household collaboration, if something's not working, like, let's talk about it. Let's have a family meeting, or let's have open dialogue and conversations and make adjustments. And it's stuff that we can teach our children, right? So that they can be really productive in the work world. But I feel like this is the stage where so many people dip out in relationships, in careers, in friendships. It doesn't matter what it is, because they freak out and they don't know how to talk about it. They don't know how to self reflect, evaluate, take accountability, or bring solutions to the table versus just waiting for someone else to fix your problems. So, this is the spot where you need to, what did you say earlier? Buckle up, buttercup, because, you know, relationships and careers and feeding your family and doing what you love and all of this stuff, it is hard, but you better pick your hard, because being homeless and broke is hard too. So, you know what I mean? Like, this is one of those spots where I see a lot of people, they just fall back and either staying there and just being miserable and not doing anything, or they just quick leave their job and bounce around to the next thing.
Yeah. It's hard because you
Mhm.
have to physically make this change. You're not, and some of it also the realization of, oh, what role did I play in this?
Yes, the accountability piece, yeah.
The accountability. And I think that that's harder for people to be honest with
Oh,
because it's
yeah.
a mentality of victimization, right?
Mhm,
Like I and people are going to treat you how you allow them to treat you, right? And that
mhm.
includes work dynamics.
Yes.
So when you start getting that micromanagey colleague or, the ones that are calling you beyond work hours and you take that call or you do all the things,
Mm.
then it becomes kind of commonplace. So
Yep,
that this part, the reflection piece, I agree with you, Jen. This is one of the most important pieces of this journey to help you set yourself up for success. And
yep,
that's the goal with all of that. So don't rush into it. And as I said from, the beginning of this podcast, quitting is not always the solution, but it might lead to that, right? Depending on the type of environment you're in and how toxic it is and if there's any availability to change. And
mhm.
then some reflection questions during this phase. So, what am I being asked to release without immediately replacing it? Because sometimes you don't have the answer, right? And so, I want to release the calling after hours piece. So I don't have to replace that. I just want to release that, right? So you just have to name that and think about that. Another question is, what is it that you want or what aspects do you need attention in order for me to find peace? So, where are those specific areas? Like I said, being specific is really important. And once again, what have I done to support this dynamic? Or have I been honest, open, communicative, direct? And if you
Mhm.
haven't, then what does that look like now? All right, girl, we're going into the rebuilds. All right, you got to pull up your sleeves
The
for this.
best part. I
Yes,
love
right?
I love new stuff. I love renovations and DIY, and this is what this is.
It's a rebirth. It's a positive thing because I'm sure you are talented enough to find another job. But if you can take what you have and what you built and have a reno and not a total destruction, right? Like
Mhm,
renovate those areas that need that attention. So here you're experimenting, you're trying things differently. You start a blueprint of what life could be at work at this point, right? And what would that look like on a day to day? So this is the exciting part of the journey because you are in control and you get to make those changes in your blueprint
mhm,
and you can play around with it a little bit. And I think that's the fun part. Like I'm a creative person. I love like thinking about new things and thinking about creative solutions. So when you're in that space for me it jazzes me up in the same way as you do. Like I get excited because I say to myself, well, I can make this anything I want it to be, right?
mhm,
Now, is it gonna be accepted? Is it gonna go the way you want it to go? You have to manage your expectations. But
mhm.
I think that in this phase, some of the signs and signals that you're definitely in this phase is that curiosity returns. You're not
Yeah.
that like, "Ugh, I'm coming into work and I'm doing all these things." So curiosity returns, you get that small spark of energy, and then you start to boundary set, and that feels a little more natural for you.
Mhm,
So you're saying to yourself, okay, I'm releasing this, as I said in the last phase, and people are starting to see that. And they're saying, okay, I see that she's not answering her phone after 6 o'clock, or, she's not answering emails on the weekend. So those boundaries are being placed and people are
yep,
respecting those. You explore new skills and ideas because maybe there's something there that you can improve upon for yourself. And
mhm,
some of it could be skills related to your work, or it could be communication skills or boundary setting skills. So many different things that can happen in this phase as well. And then you are redefining success. What does success look for you in this rebuild space? Because what it was 6 months ago, a year ago doesn't serve you now. What does it look like for the next 6 months or for the next, few weeks, whatever timeline you give it? So this for me, girl, is my favorite phase.
it is totally, and you have to think about it. It's no different than pushing yourself to do something uncomfortable and unfamiliar that you have not done before. Like, for example, running a 5K, right?
Mhm.
Someone who hates exercise, has a stinking thinking about it, all of this stuff. Like, I don't know, one time I got a wild hair and was like, I'm going to learn how to run and I'm going to run a 5K. And of course, I'm like, WTF at myself, like, whose great idea was this? But I did it. And then all the training up to it, all of the just in between things and the crazy things that went through my mind, and then actually completing it, even though, like, yeah, I was like dead and laid out right after, I was just like, I cannot believe that I had this crazy idea all by myself. I actually implemented it. I didn't talk myself out of it. I even stayed consistent. I even pushed through the super hard, uncomfortable times all on my own, and I did it.
Yes.
And just that concept to be able to look at yourself and then see those steps and those changes, you're like, wow, that is growth. For me, growth and development and evolving is success. It's
Yes.
not just about how many followers or how much money are you raking in and did you get your bonus? That's great. But for me, that's not the definition of success. And so, even in business, if you can learn to develop this communication skills when it's really uncomfortable and how to lead without the victim energy of like, you do this and this puts me in the bad space. And you say, you know what? I don't know if you've had a lot of experience in this. This is my experience, but I'd love to help you out so we can work better together as a team. Like,
Right.
there's so many different things you can do to grow through this blueprint that you're talking about in the rebuild. And I'm telling you what, when you look in the mirror, you're gonna be so proud of yourself. It's priceless.
It's such a self-confidence booster too,
Mhm.
because it's like you could do hard things. You could do hard
Yes.
and uncomfortable things. And on the other side of it, you look back and you say, "You know, it wasn't that hard. I was able to do it. I was
Uh-huh.
able to conquer this dynamic at work or this new skill or whatever it is that you can take on for you." Life lessons. These are life lessons.
Uh-huh.
And, when I just left my job, my first job, I didn't realize that I would be to the place now where I'm having difficult conversations with people or I'm having those awkward moments, but it's no longer that for me because I'm not
Uh-huh.
attributing my success to something external.
Uh-huh.
It's one of those. So this is, as I said, for me and for you as well, this most exciting part of the journey of shifting. It gives you so much for me. I'll speak for myself. It gives me so much hope and optimism
Uh-huh.
because, everything has a solution. And even if it's scary or uncomfortable, there's a solution. So,
Uh-huh.
if you have the right people around you who can support you through it, ask for what you need, right? So, even,
Uh-huh.
for your folks outside of work, it's just like, "Hey, I need a little pep talk with this," or I need a little vent session. Can you help me with this?"
Yep.
Once you get to that place, boy, your success is boundless. You
Yep.
can just continue with that success. So, in this phase, do not compare yourself to anyone else's timeline. None of this should be rushed, right? Because you're
Uh-huh.
making those next really important steps to for your happiness and for your fulfillment at work. So, just make sure you're walking your own path during this and you set up your own blueprint that is meaningful to you. And
Uh-huh.
then, the reflective question during this phase is what feels supportive and is really helping me right now. So as I said, if you need to get your ship circle to come around you and give you that great energy and to listen to you and to give you some words of encouragement, then do that. If you need to write it out, if you need to blueprint it, like literally, draw it out and have all those things, do what you need to do to make this as supportive as you possibly can make it. All right, Jen, we're getting to the last phase, the becoming. So, this is when you're finally feeling in sync with yourself at work. So, all the work you did in the previous phase where you aligned your values, you put your boundaries, you made your blueprint and you're living that blueprint. Now it's starting to feel like, okay, it's starting to get in sync again. And in this stage, you feel more grounded, you're less anxious. You're
Uh-huh.
also a bit more optimistic because you have redefined your own experience. And that's a powerful thing to do because you don't live in a vacuum. You don't live on your own or work on your own. You have all of these folks around you, but you were able to express yourself in a way that gave them the opportunity to see, okay, it's not aligning with Sandra. I need
Uh-huh.
to do it in this way. So give yourself that credit and really see what you were able to do. So, and at this stage, work feels more sustainable. It feels like you can come in and actually breathe a little deeper, breathe a little easier. Your body feels safer and you value your choices that you've made. So, this is the part of the shift that you look back and you say, wow, I can't believe I started here. I worked my way into this middle space and here I am now. So the becoming is truly, the success that you need. Now, the becoming may also mean that you have to move on because I've been in environments where I've really tried and it didn't work out for me. So the becoming doesn't necessarily always mean harmony and kumbaya at work. That
Uh-huh.
may mean it can never change, and now I need to make that next phase and reinvent myself. Keep that peace in mind as well.
I guess the thing that's playing in my head right now is the people that I see that basically would just eat shit. They'll sit there and they'll be like, "It's fine, it's fine. Oh, I know that, like my boss is a jerk or he's, creating chaos or like I'm getting calls 24 hours a day, and oh, it's fine. Or maybe they're just like, oh, I can't do anything else. I don't have any other skills or they don't have that self-belief. Like I don't know, like, what would you advise for the people that kind of get stuck in downplaying it and just getting used to eating crap because they don't wanna put the energy in that evaluation space, right? They don't really wanna take that deep look, or they don't want to feed into their self-confidence or their skill set to reach higher or different that is more aligned. I mean, I don't know, what would you tell somebody like that?
Well, when you I think everyone needs to take an inventory. Take a work
Mhm,
inventory, right? And think about once again, it's on paper, no one's gonna read it. Think
mhm,
about all the areas that you are that you're misaligned, that you're not feeling fulfilled, all of those things. And then
mhm,
also write up what would you wanna do? What
mm,
are you, like, internally longing for, right? Forget about the people pleasers or the ones that just will stay at a job for, like, 45 years and just, retire because they feel like they have no other choice. Like, talk to your little, like, seven-year-old self and say, "What would you wanna be when you grow up?" kinda thing, and it's
mhm,
a silly activity, but it just gives you some insight into the difference between what you're doing and your fulfillment, where you are now and what you could be doing. Writing things out really helps you play things out, right? It's like, when you create a blueprint, you have to erase it and do it again and change things because it doesn't always work out. So, like doing an exercise where you're asking yourself these questions, you're putting it down on paper and really reflecting on it, that might be the catalyst for change for you because it's
m'kay,
on paper now and you start looking at it and then you start realizing, well, I do really like helping people, or, I'm really good at writing, or whatever it is that it is. And then that kind of implants itself into your
mhm,
consciousness. And you're saying to yourself, well, there may be opportunities. And when you put something in your consciousness and you start seeing it, it's like, like Facebook is always listening, or,
oh,
or
yeah.
the internet's always
Well, the
listening.
tech does, yeah.
The universe is always listening. So if you write it down and you put it in your consciousness or you have it out there, it's going to show you those micro opportunities. And it's like, there's a writing contest or there's something that's happening. And I think that's kind of the next steps in all of that. And for those who are accepting of it, it's a little tougher, right? Because they're not going to go through the 5 stages. But
Yeah, I guess they're really just not even ready for a shift. Honestly, that's now that I say it out loud, I'm like, well, then that's my observation, right? That
yeah,
they're okay with just sucking it up and being miserable. But ultimately, each person has to be responsible for their own shift. Even though I could see somebody, is miserable or could thrive in a different way, it's not
yeah.
mine to say, I guess. So I'll just mind my business.
But I think but I think the other message is, if you're stuck, you can get unstuck. Because some people are stuck and accept it, right?
Hmm.
Or feel stuck and they accept it, and then others will, think there's no other option. Like, there's
Hmm.
no other option to another job or
To pivot,
another.
yeah.
Right. And, so for those that are, don't wanna take kind of that next step for themselves, there's nothing you can do about that, but for those who
Mm-mm.
are in that space and they just kind of told themselves a story that they can't, well, this can be a tool for you to
Yeah,
play around
to
and to
explore at
explore.
least and see,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure, for sure. So I hope that our listeners take this and give themselves an opportunity to reflect on workplace dynamics, to reflect on what are those nudges that you're feeling in your body and in your consciousness when you're thinking about work, and what actions can you take to help those. And for my shift
Mhm.
activation for this week, I would love for all of us to get out our journals and to really go through each one of the phases one by one. So think about a challenging work dynamic, or a situation that you really wish can be changed, and
Yeah.
go through the nudge, the realization, the surrender, the rebuild, the becoming. Think about some of the things to think about in those phases. So, in the nudge, is there something in my workplace that makes me feel uneasy? Is it a person or is it a situation? So, that's the first question in the nudge. For the
Mhm.
realization, what are the specifics of the situation
Mhm.
that make you feel uncomfortable. Be as specific as possible, be as honest as possible. If it takes 10 pages, make it be 10 pages. You want to get all of that out of your body so that it
Mhm.
is very clear what those things are. The surrender, write about how this situation no longer serves you and you're saying it with that acceptance, right? Like this is
Mm.
no longer serving me, and start reflecting on the clarity that you need to help support that situation, right? So this is where you start thinking about, the potential blueprint. You're starting to reflect on it. You're not building it yet. You're
Mhm.
just thinking about it. And then next is the rebuild. What steps are you going
Mhm.
to take in order to manage this circumstance and situation, right? So this is where you are actually doing something, and you may not want to tackle all things at once. It may be
Mhm.
one situation, or you may be, like Gen Express and do it all at once. Like it just, it just doesn't, you have to do what works for you.
Yeah.
And then finally, the becoming. Reflect on, what does it feel like? And even if you're not there yet, act like it is here. It is done. And reflect on, what does it feel like to actually have that peace that I am seeking? And when you write that out, you're going to start living that. So my invitation is, take those five phases and really go into it, write it out in your journal, and really get a sense of clarity of, where do I need to be?
Yeah, this is really helpful. I'm going to absolutely been implementing it. I feel like I've been in the stages for a little while with one of my businesses, and I have been doing all of that work, but in my mind,
Yes.
not writing it out. And I do feel like, even though I kind of have a good idea of some of those things, now I'm interested to see what else would come up or how much more clearer it would be if I wrote it out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm ready to do this homework, girl.
Awesome. It's just sometimes I think we tend to accept, like, oh, things are just not what I want it to be, so here it is. And there's another option on the other
Yeah.
side. Girl, thank you so much for this conversation, and I'm so glad that we were able to really revisit our steps to shifting. And if you out there in our listening world have a nudge or something that you're experiencing at work and want to chat about it, you need a venting space, we are here. We would love
Yeah.
to listen to you, to give you any support or advice on anything that's happening. And until next time, shifties, go drink something yummy and have a great afternoon. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
And that's it for today's shift. Thank you so much for sharing this space with us. If you're loving the conversation, become a shifty. Like, follow, subscribe, and most of all, share this episode with someone who's shifting too, or someone who seriously needs to get their shift together.
Do you have thoughts, questions, topic requests, or maybe you're feeling the nudge to collaborate? Visit us at shiftsisterpodcast.com. We'd love to hear from you. We're so grateful for your presence, your friendship, and your willingness to do the work with us. Because shift happens and we're not meant to do it alone.
We'll meet you back here next time to breathe, reflect, and talk shift.